Hello, party people. Welcome to NRW here. I'm your host here today, Rob the Movie Guy, and I thank you very much for joining me here today because today we are finally at the final film, which I believe is going to be the final film, and if there is another one on the way, you know, they should just stop right here. But this is for Escape Plan, the Extractors here. Now, before I get into my thoughts here, let's roll the trailer here real quick.
You know, Abigail, I was thinking about what you were saying about us moving in together. I think it's a pretty good idea.
I love you, Ray.
I love you, too. Hey there.
I'm here. Sorry it took a little longer.
Oh, don't worry about it. Abby. Abby!
Ray!
Abby!
You know who I am? My father built your company. Ray Breslin pushed him out.
I had nothing to do with what happened.
But you were there, so you're part of it. What goes around comes around, Ray Breslin. By the time you see this, I'll be coming for you.
Who is it?
My ex-partner's son. What's your call?
Devil's Station.
How bad is this place?
It's bad. It's a hole like I've never seen.
Couldn't do this without you.
I got your back, man.
Is you Shen Lo? Bao Yang.
Never seen anyone go to a fight in a sports club before.
That's not funny.
Sure it is.
Hush, what have you got?
Uplinking drone feed now.
Weak spots. What's our way in?
What are we waiting for?
Hey! I got someone in there, too. Where you going?
Maybe late. Make a big impression.
We got visitors!
He knows we're coming.
Standing by.
Have a look at your phone, Ray.
I'm sorry.
Abby! Down in front!
Payback.
Come on, hit me for your father. Come on. I'm done with prisons.
And there you have it, Escape Plan, the Extractors here. Now, is this film as shitty as the second one here? Well, I'm happy to say that no, it's not. It's actually a much better film. You know, not a great film by any means. Not a great film by any means, but a much more improved a form of storytelling here than what you got in the sequel here. Now, one thing I'm going to point out here about this movie was that if you may recall from what I said in the review for Escape Plan 2, they had already started shooting that film, and then immediately after they were done, they were already starting the third one there. And I remember seeing some posts on Stallone's Instagram page where he was putting some videos on the behind the scenes that they were doing for the third film, which I thought was very interesting. And then at the same time, with the way the second film had ended there, I really thought they were going to continue on with that particular story here. And with this film, it seems like they just completely disregarded that altogether, and rather stuck with a much more direct sequel to the first film. Now, the one thing I did forget to mention in the review for the first film is that actor Vincent D'Onofrio is in the movie, and he actually kind of plays a villain in as well in the film, who eventually meets his demise. So in this film, his son, played by Devon Sawa of the Little Giants, the first Final Destination film, and one of my favorite horror comedies of all time, in Idle Hand. He plays the son of Vincent D'Onofrio characters from the first film, and he is pretty much out for revenge to get back at Ray Breslin and his crew. I'm gonna say this here. This film, like I said before, is a much better. It's a much better improvement from what you saw on the first film, but nowhere near, and I mean nowhere near as good as the first film. By it's miles away to match that level of filmmaking, storytelling, acting, and so on and so forth here. Now, as far as the acting is concerned in this film, it's actually a lot better. There's no doubt there's a lot of cheesy lines here, and it's just some of the directions of the story here is kind of a little messy, I would say, but it definitely was an improvement from what we got in the first one. And there's none of that stupid ass shaky cam action with the quick edit here, and although there is a little bit of that, but it's nowhere near as annoying as it is in the second film. And I'm happy to say too that that 50 Cent, who was in the film, is still pretty much really he's the only consistently good thing throughout this entire trilogy here. I forgot to mention that he's in the second film, which you guys already, I'm sure, seen in the trailer there, but he's nowhere near as annoying as a lot of the actors in that second film, nowhere near as annoying as all the characters that you see in the film. He's pretty consistent across the board, and I actually thought his portrayal of this character throughout this entire series here is consistently good. So I'm very happy to say that he is still the one saving grace, if you will, of this trilogy here. But again, it's not enough to really save the film here. But the director and John Hurstfield, who took up the mantle for directing duties here on this project here, did a much better job in telling a much more clear-cut story. It doesn't have all that stupid-ass handheld shots that was completely unnecessary in the second film. He definitely has a much more steady cam approach and putting the camera in place and letting the scenes play out to a point. And you can obviously tell that this film has a very low budget. I believe, if I remember reading correctly, that the budget of this film was somewhere near like the $3.5 million mark. So coming from a $65 million film in the first one, then coming to a $20 million budget from the second one, and then coming down to a $3.5 million budget in this third one here, the quality of filmmaking in the storytelling in the third film has definitely improved. But again, this is I'm not gonna get too much into the plot here, guys, because really it wasn't all that interesting. It was kind of redundant, to be honest with you. And but I will give credit to the actors who do their very best with the film, and the action scenes that occur in this movie weren't all that bad, but they weren't definitely very exciting here. One thing I'll point out here that I will give credit to, but although it's not something that was blown away by any means, there was a post that I saw where Stallone and director John Hurstfield were talking about a fight sequence between Stallone and Devon Sawa, and there was supposed to be this choreographed fight scene in that particular prison there, but Stallone had decided he would rather be spontaneous and let's just improvise on the spot to make the fight a little more authentic, a little more realistic, to show that aggression that these guys are just fighting off of rage here. And I thought it was a very interesting approach. And then having seen it in the film here, it really wasn't all that great. I mean, not to say that it was flat out terrible. It wasn't great, but I wouldn't say that it was the worst thing I've ever seen. But to Stallone's credit here, he definitely tried to do something different, a little more spontaneous, and it definitely shows his enthusiasm throughout this filmmaking process here, because this time around, upon seeing this film here, I was actually happy to see that this time around he was definitely involved with the commentary now, and also with some of the behind-the-scene footage that you see there. So I was very happy that he was enjoying himself much more in this film than he was in the second one here, because after hearing what he had said about the second film here, it's no surprise when you see the film. So as far as my recommendations of this film is concerned, is it worth your time? This is a very difficult film for me to recommend here, because with the success of the first film, because it is a great story with Schwarzenegger and Stallone working off one another here, and they've done a great job with the storytelling there. And then coming off the second one, which was just a complete mess here, and then seeing the third one, where you can kind of see where they definitely try to redeem themselves with this franchise here, and it does succeed to a degree, but it's just not enough to say, oh, hey guys, you know what? This is a very interesting franchise for you guys to check out, and I definitely think it's worth your time to look into it, because believe it or not, for me, one of the reasons why I chose to review this franchise here for all three of these films is because this to me was kind of like a representation of Stallone's career, which is a very odd thing for me to point out using this franchise here, because although the first film being a very successful film, and it didn't have all the praise in the world, but it definitely did was the most praise out of the entire trilogy here. That kind of more or less speaks to me what Stallone's career was like, where a lot of people love his film and a lot of people may hate his film, and then he'll make a lot of great films, and it definitely matches to the height of his career. And then you have films that he would end up doing that just didn't have that impact, and you're wondering what the decision making process was like for him to go to sign on to a project like this here, and that kind of speaks volumes about this film over here. And then you kind of find out that, you know what, he may have just woken up and realized, holy shit, I got to get my shit together here and make things right. And then hence we've got this film right here. And this kind of a lot of ways speaks to me about how his career has been. Now, granted, a lot of actors have those moments throughout their career where they make great decisions and they have a success for a lot of films that they do. And then they kind of hit a slump where they're just making shitty decisions here. But this is something where I see has been pretty consistent across the board with Stallone's career, where in the 70s he reached a height, and then in the 80s he kind of slowly saw a slump in his career, and then he kind of shot right back up with the Rocky series and the Rambo franchise, and then he had some little hit and misses along the way in between those franchises there, and then he had a resurgence with Cliffhanger, and then he just almost had one hit after another, and then that slope in his career started coming back down again, and then he tries to redeem himself by making a good film such as, let's say, Copland, which was actually a very good movie. But then all of a sudden he was just never able to bounce back, because that came a little too late, and a lot of different things played into the setback in his career as well. And then all of a sudden he has a resurgence again with Rocky Balboa, which got a lot of attention and a lot of praise, and it was a very successful movie. And of course Rambo, and then you saw the Expendables and the next set of movies that came up after that, and then you kind of slowly see that little slump again that's starting to wind down with his career. And then you get films like Escape Plan 2, Escape Plan, The Extractors, and then there's another movie that he did that was a directed DVD film called Backtrace, which I'm pretty sure no one ever knew existed there. But that is the cycle that Stallone goes through with his career, and it goes to show you that this guy is very persistent there. So this is one of the reasons why I love Stallone and I love his work. Granted, all his things are great, but it speaks volumes about how he's able to stay on top of his game, even when he's at the very low of his career. He's still able to push for something there, and eventually he kind of comes back into the mainstream lexicon, if you will, that notice, oh yeah, Stallone's still around, he's still doing his thing, he does a really good job with giving the right projects here. And this franchise is an example to me of what his career has always been like, where you have a very successful film, and then you have a shitty film, and then you have a redeeming film to make up for all the bad choices he's made through that franchise there. So that is my thoughts here. It's a very difficult franchise for me to recommend for you to watch it. So I would recommend for you to watch it on your own accord there, but I definitely would highly recommend you watch the first film here. And then if you decide to follow through and checking out the next two sequels there, that's going to be up to you. And if you like it, great. If you don't, I understand. Believe me, I do. But that's all I have to say about that with this franchise here. So I thank you very much here for joining me here today and checking out the reviews here for this series here. And let me know what you guys think of the series here. Did you guys know that there was even a sequel to the first film here? And if so, will you be checking it out? And if you have checked it out, what did you think? If you loved it, if you hated it, please let me know down there in the comments below here. And while you're here, make sure that you subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already, and help us to reach our goal. We're trying to aim to 1,000 subscribers here on this channel here, and we would greatly appreciate if you can share our videos here, and also hit that notification button down below there, so that way you are notified about any upcoming videos we have coming down the pipeline here. And while you're here, make sure that you follow NRW on their social media accounts here. Follow them on Facebook and on Instagram, simply New Release Wednesdays, and on Twitter at the NRW here. And you can follow myself here on my social media accounts on Instagram at Rob_Medina0585, and on Twitter, RobMedina0585, and on Facebook, simply Rob the Movie Guy here. And until next time, everybody, stay safe out there, and cheers.